This program is brought to you in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support education, the arts, and culture in the greater New Orleans area.
Support for this program comes from the Gail and Tom Benson Charitable Foundation, committed to funding educational causes.
Hello, I'm Marcia Cavanaugh. Thanks so much for joining us. Well, all of the intelligence that we will be sharing in this program is real and not artificial, and our panel members, we presume, are all human and not robots. Nevertheless, this new age of artificial intelligence, or AI, creates wonder and raises questions about information flow. We will be looking at the impacts and strategies of AI on local businesses and education. We will also analyze the indictments of Mayor LaToya Cantrell and the latest legal developments. Plus, we will update politics and hear about the day when train service returned to the Gulf Coast. On board for us are tonight's Informed Sources: Errol Laborde, producer of Informed Sources; Don Ostrom, Channel 12's Future Watch reporter; Rich Collins, staff writer for the Times-Picayune, the New Orleans Advocate; and David Hammer, chief investigative reporter, WWL Louisiana, Channel 4. And we will stick with David because you have, of course, been covering the big story of this past week, the indictment of New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell. So why don't you kind of background us a little bit on it, and what's the latest?
Sure. I mean, it was a historic day last Friday when LaToya Cantrell was indicted, the first sitting mayor of the city of New Orleans to be charged with federal crimes while still in office, as opposed to her one of her predecessors, Ray Nagin, who was charged 3 years after he left office. And it's 18 counts that were superseding indictment against her former bodyguard, Jeffrey Vappy, former NOPD officer who was her bodyguard, and 11 of those counts are specifically against Cantrell, some against both Cantrell and Vappy, a few just against Cantrell, and they're charging conspiracy, wire fraud, obstruction of justice, and false statements. And the big ones really are that they're alleging that she lied to a grand jury multiple times going in to testify both in 2023 and in 2024. And really the thing that's important to keep in mind is that this all kind of relates back to her and Jeffrey Vappy's claims that they were not in a romantic relationship. All of the allegations kind of go back to that point. While they were spending time in the Pontalba apartment together, while they were traveling all over the country and around the world, claiming that their claim is that he was providing executive protection for her, and the allegations from the government are that they were having a romantic relationship, and that the Jeffrey Vappy was then getting paid by the city of New Orleans for doing his duty as a police officer when the allegations are that they were not. So that's kind of the nuts and bolts of it. I think the thing that was surprising a little bit for people is that this indictment comes against her tied completely to this relationship with Jeffrey Vappy, and the previous indictment that we saw from the summer of 2024 was against a businessman named Randy Farrell, who was an inspector who was doing inspections on behalf of the city of New Orleans and was being investigated for alleged fraud by a member of Cantrell's administration, and then was allegedly giving her bribes, paying her things of value, giving her gifts in exchange for getting rid of that person who was investigating him, allowing him to continue doing millions and millions of dollars of work for the city. And that's where you would traditionally see an allegation of corruption against a politician, of, a quid pro quo. And that was alleged. She was named as public official one as having received these bribes in the indictment of Randy Farrell. She was not named, and she's not been charged criminally in that case directly. But you clearly see in these allegations against Randy Farrell that they allege that she received bribes. That is not what she is facing here. She has not been charged with that crime. The crimes all go back to this personal relationship. And I think, analysts who've looked at this have said that there's a risk here for the government, that they're tying this case completely to alleged lies that she told under oath about a romantic relationship and the potential that she would have sympathy in the community if this case ever went to trial and from a potential jury at trial.
So tell us, part of this indictment, also there are, 15,000 WhatsApp messages between Cantrell and Vappy, which the government says really disproves their claim that they were not involved.
Exactly, and they actually grabbed some of these text messages and images from messages and such, showing them traveling to wineries and talking about their love for each other and stuff like that. The thing that's important about the WhatsApp messages is that she testified under oath to the grand jury that she had produced all of these messages when in fact they had not produced any of the WhatsApp messages. There was search history for Jeffrey Vappy looking into whether WhatsApp is encrypted to the point where they can't be discovered or found, and there were deleted text messages as well that were allegedly not turned over, and then she attests under oath that she turned over all of the messages that were requested by the grand jury. So that's really the key here, and the question is, are people going to say, well, what they're essentially lying about is a romantic relationship. They were both married at the time. Mayor Cantrell's husband passed away in 2023, but at the start of this relationship, 2021, both she and Mr. Vappy were married, and so those are really going to be the questions going forward with any kind of if this ends up going to trial.
Well, the government says, it's not about a relationship. It's about a relationship that was being conducted on the public dime. So
right,
and
that's
their
exactly
argument.
what I asked the acting U.S. attorney at the press conference was, did you have any pause about bringing this, particularly against the first woman mayor of the city? And his answer was, we don't take those things into consideration. We see that this is ripe for prosecution because we believe that we have the evidence to prove that laws were broken, that fraud was committed, and that there were lies under oath told in order to cover it up. And it could be one of these cases where the cover-up is worse than the crime, where, in and of itself, it might not have brought a prosecution, but once those things were brought to their attention, it was allegedly continued to happen. They continued to do these things even after they were notified. There were some of these messages that went to Mayor Cantrell from her associates saying, hey, the mayor of Nashville was convicted of this very thing with her bodyguard. Don't let this be you. And she says, don't accuse me. And they were well aware of what was going on as the allegation and continued to do it.
David, what are the rules as far as the government being able to get access to people's text messages?
Well, they have to subpoena them, and there's a process for people to try to prevent them from accessing them. But generally speaking, if they have probable cause that a crime was committed, they will get the ability to subpoena those records. From a media standpoint, there's been a lot of fights over our shield as journalists to protect our sources and things like that. But if you're the target of a criminal investigation or a suspect in a criminal investigation and they subpoena your messages, they have a lot of access either directly to you or through somebody you communicated with or through the messaging apps and the communications companies.
So what's next now in this case?
Well, she is scheduled for her arraignment and first appearance on September 10th. That will be a big day for her to come in and plead not guilty. Even if somebody is planning to plead guilty in the future, they always plead not guilty at that first hearing. But we have no indication that she's going to do anything but fight these charges. I think it's important to keep in mind that, these kinds of issues, her use of public money is really at the core of this, that there's $70,000 that were paid just to pay for the expenses for Jeffrey Vappy on these trips and these various times that he was spending with her. So that's going to be the question going forward, is the use of public funds. I've detailed her use of public funds and questions about that going back many, many years.
And it's anticipated that she will remain in office, so it seems like
she is showing no indication that she'll resign. Obviously, the mayor of Nashville I mentioned earlier, she resigned and agreed to as a part of a plea agreement. No indication that she's going to step down before her term ends in January.
Okay, as we have the situation with the sitting mayor of New Orleans, we also have an election coming up for a new mayor of the city of New Orleans. And E, you wanted to talk about the latest polls on that.
Yeah, we had some new poll results, courtesy of WWL TV. They hired a pollster, Ron Fauché, who seems to be the go-to pollster these days for elections. But the results that came out this week, so Helena Moreno has 47%, a substantial lead. A couple of weeks ago, Ron Fauché did a poll for a business operation, and it had the same result. It had Moreno up with 47%. What has changed is Oliver Thomas was in second place, and Royce Duplessis was third. Since then, Arthur Hunter had dropped out, and he endorsed Royce Duplessis, and so there was a bit of a bump for Royce Duplessis. Anyway, look at it, though. That's a fairly substantial lead. Then you see the other candidates. The really key thing is undecideds. Usually undecideds, well, first of all, undecideds, a lot of times they don't vote. If they're undecided by now, it shows they're not really interested. But when they do vote, undecideds quite often follow the pattern that's up there. And so whoever is leading, they're more inclined to vote for. Whoever's in second place, they're also inclined. Because if I got to vote, I may as well vote for a winner. So it's that kind of thing. And so it's very likely, it's really possible that the undecided vote could kick Cantrell up, Moreno up to the 50% and above.
Well, that's, of course, what the candidate Moreno is hoping, is that she will take it outright in the primary. But, she's been campaigning, a lot of on-air ads already. We haven't really seen that yet from the others. So we'll see where it goes.
Well, she's led the fundraising, which is certainly substantial.
And a lot more of this race is being played out on social media than we've seen in the past in terms of Instagram and these other social media posts.
I think one of the images of the campaign is going to be the one with the dumpster fire, where you show a dumpster and she said, that's being compared to city services, it's all on fire. Then it kind of ends with her with an extinguisher putting out the fire, So if she loses, maybe she can be fire chief. So the experience. So.
We will see. That's not what she's aiming for, though. All right, E, thanks. And WYES will bring you a forum featuring the three major candidates for mayor next week. You can watch it live on our WYES YouTube page on Monday at 6 p.m. and then on Channel 12, broadcasting it on air next Wednesday at 7 p.m. And WYES is partnering with the Lakeshore, Lake Vista, and Lake Terrace Property Owners Associations, as well as the Lake Oaks Civic Association, the Rotary Club of New Orleans, and New Orleans East Rotary to bring you this candidates forum. So be on the lookout for it. It's coming up this Wednesday. It's going to actually happen on this Monday at 6 o'clock. You can see that streaming as well. Okay, enough of politics right now. Now we're going to go to Rich, and we're going to talk about business, and we're going to talk about AI, and maybe you might not be too sure what AI is or wary about it. Nevertheless, it is here.
Right.
First of all, full disclosure, are you a robot or are you real?
I am a real reporter. No, so I cover ideas and innovation for the newspaper, so I get press releases about AI stuff every day, and what I've realized is that there's the hype, and then there's the fear, and then I did a story this past week, my first sort of deep dive into AI to sort of find out the reality in the business world, how different businesses and different sort of sectors of the economy are actually using the tools right now. It's been 3 years since ChatGPT sort of brought the idea of consumer-facing AI to all of us. I mean, the technology has existed in other forms for decades, but a lot of people are saying we're in this era, the way the internet kind of just exploded into the public consciousness in the the end of the last century. This is where we are now. But so I just got on the phone and went out and visited a lot of different folks. The funnest story, the one we led with, is MS Rao, the antiques dealer. And I profiled their new AI director, and he said when he got the recruiter message, he thought it was a mistake. Why would an art gallery need an AI director? Right. But MS Rao, despite being in the French Quarter, is this is a huge business, and they scour the globe for fine art, fine jewelry. Actually, is sort of the biggest category for them, antiques. And they have now got this 4-person team with the help from Tulane's computer science grad students, and they are unleashing AI to scour the internet to find the things that will be appealing to
It
their...
almost doesn't compute because MS Rao is this classic antique shop in the French Quarter, has been there for Lord knows how long.
Right.
And then now it's using AI. But it's definitely using AI, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Big part
they're
now of
actually
its
getting ready to
business.
hit start on this program. They've been building it for months now. But the young AI director that I talked to, Alex, he had a great quote, which is this is this perfect meeting of the finest things that were made in the old world, meeting the absolute latest technology.
So how do they use it?
So it's basically shopping. So it's So picture websites all around the world.
Craigslist everywhere.
Yeah, but auction houses,
Websites.
private collections, galleries. In the past they literally have to go Google it, search it, and see, do I want that necklace? Does that fit our MO? Now they're going to send this tool essentially is going to scour the internet.
So
for
AI
these
does
things.
the Google searching for you, essentially.
Basically,
okay?
it's searching the internet for
I
them.
mean, Google is almost being supplanted by AI because it's
Right.
not as good at finding these things. But I kind of feel, I don't know if you feel this way, Rich, but I feel like journalism is almost like a canary in the coal mine with this stuff, because we saw these examples of AI hallucinating and making stuff up, and you can't trust it. And just in the last few months, it started to be like a directive in newsrooms. You got to use this stuff or you're going to fall behind. You're not going to be able to compete as you're chasing stories. So you need to actually use it to find information. But you got to be so careful because so many mistakes can seep into it, and so you've got to double check it. But if you're not using it, you're falling behind.
Yeah, it looks super authoritative, but you don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there are legal ramifications, too. I mean, do you have the rights to use it? I mean, there are a lot of layers to this.
Right. In fact, so one of the other folks we talked to for the story was Jones Walker. Every law firm is doing this, but they have they're lifting up their AI practice right now. And so I talked to the person leading that. And so Jones Walker is figuring out how to use it in-house to do its work, and also how to advise clients. And so they've got all sorts of warnings like, do not use AI to make hiring decisions. There's cases out there right now where people have have a case for discrimination basically because they let a machine make a decision. Don't let your employees use their personal consumer ChatGPT account to do any of your company's work, because they could leak private information into these large language models. So there's this whole new world of AI law, especially considering that the laws that are on the books right now were not written with any of this in mind, and so there's going to be plenty of new ones coming on the books.
The big spectacular failure, though, was a lawyer who used AI to write his brief and was citing fake cases
Fake
for
precedent.
that airplane case. It was some kind of a airplane situation, and they cited, and he got in trouble, and the judge was like, none of these cases actually exist.
Those aren't real cases or real people. Yeah.
Right.
But so in talking to New Orleans businesses and categories, Entergy, one of our state's only 2 of Fortune 500 companies in the state, they are ahead of the game. They've got an entire AI division. They've got a director of AI over there. They've got 60 people on this team. They're already using it to help predict when transformers will fail. They're using the data from the smart meter. So the transformers are dumb. The smart meters are smart. They can take information about the performance of those transformers, and now they're able to gather that information and process it, analyze it really quickly, so they can go out and fix something before it breaks.
Wow.
So a lot of pluses to it, but also some dangers to it as well.
Oh, yeah.
And any regulation of it at all, or is it just wide open out there?
Well, I mean, all of that's evolving. There's certain industries like banking. I talked to some bankers. I mean, there are plenty of regulations and prohibitions for how you could use it. Like, you can't use an AI tool to make a loan decision, obviously, things like that.
So the 3 categories again in which people may fall regarding AI that you said? I know fear was the middle one.
Oh, well, there's hype. There's the evangelists who say it's going to save us all. There's the doomsayers that say it's going to be the end of us all, and then there's going to be the reality in the middle. And it's sort of, I think what seems to be true is that like the internet changed everything,
Right.
this is going to change everything.
Yeah, and it's here. All right, Rich, thanks. Because also, regarding education, how is it being employed with education?
Well, it's everywhere in school, and it's everywhere school teachers might not want it also. The state of Louisiana this week said we're jumping in head first. They allocated millions of dollars to say we're going to embrace AI as a state and use it as an educational tool. I spoke to 3 different heads of school, one of a Catholic high school, one of an independent elementary and middle school, and one of a public academic magnet middle school. So very different kind of approaches to education across the board. And across the board, all 3 of these heads of school said, it can be a great tool for us, for our faculty. When we're overworked, underpaid, trying to do more with less, if you can spit some facts in and say, return me a worksheet or return me a lesson plan on this, and then you can fact check it yourself, you can just save time. And it's a great tool in that sense. Where the concerns certainly are is the students using it. And the younger the student, the scarier perhaps the use can be. And what everybody told me, all these heads of school, is what they want to do is still raise independent thinkers and people who can use critical thinking and learn the lessons the right way, so that maybe what they need to know is how to input their search into ChatGPT or into AI, how to ask it the right questions to get the right returns. The schools, meantime, are trying to watch for what's AI generated and what's not AI generated. One head of school said, you know, it's like the new spell check. Spell check used to be cheating. We're going to have to find a way to be like, well, AI might not be cheating, but how do we advise students? And one of the things I heard across the board, and you know, this is where class sizes matter and trained teachers matter, is if you know your students and you know the age group you're teaching, you can pretty much, as a qualified teacher, spot what's age appropriate and what's the real voice of that particular student. I heard that there's a lot more in-class writing. There's a lot less, go home and write this 5-page paper. We're going to do it in class, and here we're going to write the first paragraph, and we're going to add to it tomorrow. And so it's causing some more creativity with teachers to figure out how to use this tool for the better. I have a college student of my own at home taking a summer class right now, and every single lesson she opens has a warning about AI misuse. And if you use AI incorrectly, it's an academic misconduct.
It's going to be harder and harder to find those things, though, right?
As AI improves, it's going to get better and better. And you know, you plug in, return this essay to me looking like a 17-year-old boy in New Orleans wrote it.
Yeah, in the voice of a fourth grader. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I think the key is what you just said, is that you're going to have to assess people's knowledge not with written pages of text, because
Correct.
there's no way to stop that at this point.
I mean, there's
There'll have
been
to be
plagiarism
presentations.
forever. There's been cheating in schools forever. It's figuring out how to teach children with this new world and actually using it as a real tool. It really can. You know, if you can condense world history in something in nuggets that kids can understand, or, you know, and you can also use it. One thing they said is wonderful for the teachers is in Louisiana, you have a whole plan where you have to get kids up to par in reading. Well, you don't have the resources, the time, or the money to get individual tutors in every class, but you can have a child read out loud and have AI spit back out, here's where the issues are, here's what they're pronouncing wrong, here are the diphthongs they don't understand, and actually get lessons back that will help that particular child. So you can really do some individualized education that will make a real difference.
Positively make a difference.
But the
right.
teachers have to understand how to
Yeah.
use it. So you've got more expense with teacher training and more expense with systems that can detect AI use in papers.
It's
A
like
lot to
Cliff's
learn.
Notes on steroids.
Yes.
Right. All right, Don, thanks a lot. E, over to you. You took a train ride.
Yeah, it's nice to get back to a simple life.
Analog.
Passenger train and chugging all that. Here's what it looks like. There was a ceremony last Saturday at the Union Passenger Terminal to initiate this new service. It's called the Mardi Gras service. Here's what it looks like when new service starts, as seen through the eyes of the person who counts the most. That's the conductor.
I'm going to be your conductor today, Fran George, and I just have one thing to say, the thing we've been all waiting for. All aboard!
So I thought he was calling me when you said all aboard, you know. So anyway, this is the ceremony outside, you know, with the Mardi Gras theme. The guy right there and that woman, that's Hal Cosby, who was the reigning Rex. and the Rex was represented, and his wife Katie. And then over in the Mobile side, there were some of the Mobile Mardi Gras people. And by the way, the argument about who came first, Mobile or New Orleans, still continues over there. But there was a Rex press. Also, the president of Zulu went, so there was just a really good feeling about it all.
Was it an enjoyable ride?
Good.
You took the ride?
Oh,
right?
it's great. Yeah, it's a great train. It's some of them are refurbished cars, but they're very comfortable. If only airplanes could be like a train. The ride is it's very smooth. There's some great moments, like when you go to Bay St. Louis, and when you cross that, or when you go along the Wrigley's and all that swampy area.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
There's really good moments. There are 2 trains a day, 7:35 in the morning and 8:37 in the evening, and then from Mobile, first one leaves at 6:30 and the second at 4:30. So that's pretty good coverage that you have.
It really is, and it's going to be quite convenient for folks, too. It's good to have it back.
And it's 3 hours and 45 minutes. All of them are 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Did you get a meal when you were there? What'd you do?
There's a dining car, and you can go and buy things. I mean, yeah.
And who was conspicuously absent from the announcements?
Oh, yeah. Well, she was.
Mayor
There are a lot of politicians there. And I talk about the mayor who spoke so much. Well, the mayor was the mayor of Mobile,
right?
Who was the real leader there. Mayor Cantrell was invited, but she wasn't there.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Thanks. Time for other stories. Let's go to you first.
Well, speaking of Mardi Gras, we're starting to see a lot of build-up now for mid-Mardi Gras. And like this weekend, there's celebrations like 6 months before Mardi Gras. Actually, Mardi Gras is February 17th, and so 6 months was last Sunday. But we're getting into this thing now. So maybe it's something new like we'll have 6 months before Jazz Fest and that sort of thing, okay?
Okay. Don,
but anyway,
over to
this is the 6th month before Mardi Gras celebration.
Okay, Don?
Well, next Friday is the 20 years post-Katrina.
Yeah.
Not celebration, memorial for most. But there will be some really wonderful celebrations happening, too, for all of the charitable organizations that were born out of Katrina, in the spirit of Katrina. And pay attention to those. They're still looking for dollars, and they're still doing really good work.
Yeah, a lot of events around town, too. All right. Rich, over to you.
Well, I did talk to the market president of one of our major banks this week, who said that it was the year had started off very slow for commercial lending, but this past month, a lot of new activity. And interesting, this president told me that the Meta deal way up in North Louisiana, the Hyundai steel plant, even like Venture Global, all of those projects are creating work for other companies here in our area who are, need funds to buy this or that. So there's some activity. There's a pulse.
Well, that's good news. David.
An interesting journalism industry news that Nexstar is proposed to purchase Tegna, which is the owner of WWL. Nexstar is the owner of WGNO. And under new rules that went into effect this year, you can have 2 TV stations owned by the same company now in the same market, which wasn't possible before. So that's, next year at around this time, maybe LeBron Joseph and I will be working for the same company.
Could be. We shall see. All right, guys, thanks a lot for being here, and thank you all for watching. We'll see you again next week for Informed Sources. Have a good evening.
Support for this program comes from the Gail and Tom Benson Charitable Foundation, committed to funding educational causes.
This program is brought to you in part by the Eugenie and Joseph Jones Family Foundation, a local foundation proud to support education, the arts, and culture in the greater New Orleans area.